Hey guys, so I wanted to do this one because I've been thinking about this a lot, and I like to do some candid videos every once in a while because I think they resonate with people to a certain extent, and they also help me get some mental clarity. And I've just been thinking about this a lot recently. I've been battling with something for a long time. It's toxic productivity. You could also call it workaholism or workaholism, whatever. What do you want? You can call it whatever you want. But I've been struggling with this for the past few years. So I basically felt like knee deep into the productivity and self-help rabbit hole a couple years ago, and that's been good for me, like as a whole. Don't get me wrong, but this is something that ends up happening with a lot of people who end up being in this space. We find ourselves in very interesting situations. Like, for example, I just recorded 6 or 7 productive brews to like get myself in a position where I can start this new task batchy type of doing all of my recording in 1 week style, and then doing the editing, then having the rest of the weeks actually freed up for like more business type stuff, which in the aggregate saves me a lot of time. And like, I'm really happy with the new process. But as somebody who is dealing with this on a consistent basis, I felt it'd be interesting to point out in real time my battle with like this workaholism and toxic productivity. So I just did 6 or 7 episodes of The Productive Brew. I was only planning on doing 3, and then next week I'd do all the like task patchy stuff. But then I got on a roll and just recorded all those podcast episodes in a row. They're very short, don't get me wrong, but I recorded like 7 episodes in an hour. It was, and honestly, the work that I did was not bad. Like, it was all off the cuff, but like had like this weird coherent sort of. I was flow stating the heck out of it, and I was in deep work and whatnot, and all this jargon. But what I find often happens with myself and with others in this productivity community is it's like never enough, right? So I deal with this all the time, and I wanted to break down for you how I actually battle this using the toxic productivity itself to prevent myself from like burning out or freaking out. Because in the first year of doing this, I did not focus on the mental side or like self-care side of things at all. I think self-help has like this part of it that's like minimalism, which is really good. That helped me at least stay afloat. But there reached a point earlier this last year where I was just so toxically productive and didn't have any sort of self-care implemented into the routines. So I would like just do the work tasks and didn't do anything to like fill my bucket back up. So I was just drained. I was just drained because it was like, oh, hey, Dimitri, you did all this stuff for the day. Good. But you didn't do everything for the week yet, and I also didn't really give myself days off. It's a whole thing. So I'm going to break down for you how I've battled my toxic productivity with a few simple, easy habits. So I have built habits using the system that James Clear talks about in Atomic Habits. It's the cue, craving, response, reward framework, where essentially I have gotten myself to want to do a bunch of self-care habits. And actually, I've talked about this in previous videos, but I've done it through my sort of notion and toxic productivity problem. So when I talk about being productive and doing things on a consistent basis, and I'm an enthusiast about it, I really do enjoy doing tasks. But it does get to a point where it's like, I'm subliminally waking up before 4 a.m. now to get up, even when like, I go to bed at 9 or 9:30, and like, it's bordering on enough sleep. And I know that's because my subconscious is like, you got to get up and work. And yes, do I enjoy trying to build this business as a whole? Sure. But we got to acknowledge that there's like too much going on, right? And the only way that you can really help with that is by using it, at least in my experience, to force myself to do things like always work out, which is obviously healthy, meditate every day, journal my thoughts every day, read every day, and do a gratitude journaling session as well. So I've put in my habit tracker toxically productive like counterweights, if that makes sense. If there was like a scale, right? These toxically productive counterweights prevent me from just like the scale tipping over. Because every single day, my toxic productivity forces me to get my thoughts and feelings out to vent. It helps me to meditate. I also do intermittent fasting, which really helps with mental clarity. And I read so I learn, and I've been forcing myself to read things that are more in the lines of like, I've been reading Think Like a Monk by Jay Shetty, which if you've read it or have heard anything about it, it is a walking piece of, well, it's a book, but it is a huge piece of work that is just comprised of thinking how monks think. And monks are have scientifically been proven, if you've read the book, to be the happiest people on the planet. So when you read a book like that and you try to incorporate it because of the toxic productivity, sort of like, oh, I got to read the book and implement it, it does really help counterweight everything. And a lot of these readings and these meditations and whatnot have really helped me prevent like burnout, because if you tackle as much as I try to every single week, I know that I used to burn myself out. And I was thinking to myself, like, how have I battled with toxic productivity so much? Because I haven't thought less of productivity recently. I've just thought more of self-care. And that's what the difference has been. Because I was thinking to myself, like, how did I go from burning out every once in a while to like not really, I just feel fine, you know? Like I have these thoughts of, oh, I got to get more done, but I still am fine. It's because I'm filling those buckets up. And I'm actually having a struggle right now that I wanted to talk about with people who have this issue as well. If people are trying to run a business or whatever. I'm at the very start of that, right? I redid my whole task framework to make it so that I could delegate easier, which is the most difficult thing if you're a toxically productive person to do. Because you're like, I gotta do it. I gotta be the person who makes it happen. I gotta be productive. It's like, you know, what if you don't? What if you just don't? That's totally fine, because all that matters is getting done. Something very important that I learned this year is that it's not doing the things that define you. It's the impact that you make on the world. And that is the most important thing that you can do. Make an impact on people in your life and in the world. And if that's done through different mediums, it can be done through me recording and then somebody else editing. It could be by me taking the thumbnail picture and somebody else editing the thumbnail picture. It could be me recording a podcast and somebody else editing the podcast. Thanks, Chance. And it's totally okay, because if you're making that impact and you're making the concerted effort to be the best person you can be on a daily basis, it does not matter who is the person that facilitates the task to be completed. Other people can help. It's okay. And I think this is a big reason that I actually, that along with, like, I need to stop caring about vanity metrics. And I have recently a lot more. And it's because I've started to think more about, like, let's try to make a good impact on people on a daily basis. That's why I started offering like free one-on-one coaching calls. It's because if I make a great impact on somebody, I did one of the first time I did the coaching call, one of the best feelings I've ever felt in my life. I was like, they are getting value from this one-on-one and they want to talk again. Like, okay. I was just like, my complete thought of all the numbers and whatever, just the window thrown out, because I realized it was about the impact I was making on people. I'd rather have like a few true fans. Like if there's a universe, right? Or like I have a coaching thing, I have some revenue from like a couple little small revenue streams, and I don't have the biggest channel in the world. That's so much more fulfilling than being like a huge YouTube channel where I like don't individually impact anybody. Like that is, making an impact is more than just doing tasks. So learning that for myself has also been pretty good, and is a big way that I'm tackling toxic productivity. If you're somebody who's toxically productive, understand why you're doing things and what kind of impact you're making. If you're toxically productive about your schoolwork, read Deep Work by Cal Newport and stop being toxically productive about your schoolwork. It's okay to not study 12 hours a day. I only did homework twice a week in college. And focus on what you can control all the time and what kind of intention you're trying to leave with, because there is nothing better than making a positive impact and giving back to yourself. The self-care that I've given myself in this past year hasn't fixed my toxic productivity. It is just kind of leveraged the toxic productivity to make myself less upset with myself when I do things poorly. Does that make sense? Am I making sense? Did you guys like this video? I do these candid convos and usually I get a good response because it's just me being me. So I appreciate you guys for listening to this one. It was a little bit more rambly and ranty, but I definitely feel like it could help those who are struggling with something like me, where I just recorded so many podcast episodes that I'm like, oh, I gotta catch up. It's like, no, dude, just calm down. It's fine. It's fine. You're good. That being said, check out one of the other ones if you want to watch another candid convo over there, and we'll see you guys in the next one.